And that is what happened in cults. I remember a cousin of ours, brother to Vilwa McBean, was ardent Seventh-day Adventist. Left and went to America and met up with David Koresh. Was also an ardent Seventh-day Adventist. And David Koresh and his leaders prophesied some things, and they got themselves locked down in Waco, Texas. Before things broke, someone in the family called him and said, "Listen, my man, you need to get out of there." He says, "I'm with the people of God. We're going to inherit God's kingdom. You are the ones in the wrong. We're the ones in the right." Never made it out. Died along with 1,000 others, hundreds of others in Waco, Texas. Jim Jones in Guyana, false prophet, told the people to drink the bottles of poison so that they could go to the kingdom of heaven. And he himself never drank it. Wicked prophet. False prophets. The wolf might be among us, around us, and we don't see him yet or it yet. But sooner or later, the fangs will start showing through the sheep disguise. The prophet must confess Christ and exalt his self-sacrifice. Every prophet has to be Christ-centered. Many of the false prophets are not Christ-centered, they are self-centered. It is me. The 70-year-old man said that they beat him to sell him business, beat him to sell him to house. He has children and grandchildren. One of his children died, and the grandchildren of that child, he promised that child a house, and they want the house. They wanted his car. They tied his hand behind his back, shaved his head, and he got out. Neville Hullery, who was a regular guest on Ian Boyne's Religious Hard Talk, never shaved his head. He was the first leader of Kahal Yahweh. The leader there now hasn't shaved his head, but they want others to do it. Can't be a prophet and not be Christ-centered, because it's not your message, it's God's message. The prophet must confess the divine nature of Christ and exalt Christ's sacrifice for humanity. 1 John 4 verses 2 and 3 says, "Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesseth that Jesus Christ is come of the flesh is of God. And every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of the Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now is already in the world." So if what the prophet is saying is pointing to his kingdom and not God's kingdom, his ways and not God's ways, the sacrifices that he demands of others and not God's sacrifice for humanity, then are false prophets. The message of the prophet must be timely. 2 Kings chapter 6, 10 through 12. And the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him and warned him of, and saved himself there, not once nor twice. Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing, and he called his servants and said unto them, Will ye not shew me which of us is for the king of Israel? And one of his servants said, None, my lord, O king, but Elisha, the prophet that is in Israel. Tell the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. God not upon no ears with his message. His message is timely. The message must be practical. And he said, Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and I will speak unto him in a dream. Why? Because the Israelites believed that God spoke in dreams and visions. God doesn't deal with abstractions and generalizations. The fruit in the lives of those who follow their messages and receiving the revelations through dreams and visions. However, we do well to remember that passing the acid test in any or a few of these things does not make someone a true prophet. Just as the divine vision that King Nebuchadnezzar received did not make him a prophet in a whole dimension of this ministry. What is the price of being a true prophet? The South American Spanish publishing house, the leaders were there and they received from some persons more than a dozen manuscripts containing alleged prophetic messages for the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Some were sent to them just to evaluate their content. Others came with the supposed divine order to publish them immediately. Being denied that possibility, a number of people condemned the Seventh-day Adventist Church to eternal damnation for not complying with their directive. Let me come home. When I came here last year, a young lady one Wednesday walked in. She's in a blouse, sleeveless, see-through, big red bra, and pants, white, dirty knickers. She brought 2 exercise books and some folder leaves. Told me that she is from Birdsville, that she got some messages from the Lord for the Mapen Seventh-day Adventist Church. I sat and I asked her when she got the messages. She said 2018, and they are urgent. 2017 rather, and they are urgent. I said to her, but they're now 2008, it's now 2018. She said they're urgent, but God says, give the new man that's there. Well, I said, I'm not quite sure, but I'm not new here. So I don't know if there's somebody else coming, so you probably need to come back and find out who the new man is. I said, let us pray. She said, no, you can't pray. I'm the prophet. I'm the one who prays. I said, all right, we won't pray. So tell me the message. She said, I can't tell you the message. The message is for the people at Maypen. So I said, then how God told you to deliver the message? She says that I will come on a Sabbath and I will be introduced. And before I'm introduced, the entire church must kneel. And while I'm introduced and they're kneeling, I'll walk to the pulpit and I will share God's message. Sister Sharp rushed in. I said, what? So which Sabbath? She said, anyone you choose. I said, then I saw God start work now. She said, what do you mean by that? I said, but if God gave you a message, God should give you the exact time and thing. Up to now, she didn't know that I'm the pastor. She said, so I said, God told you to talk to the pastor? No, I don't want to talk to the pastor. And so I started laughing. I said, give me the message. I said, so your pastor know that God gave you a message for this church? No. I said, then how God's so bright? God have messengers here and text somebody from somewhere else. And don't tell you to tell your pastor that you get a message. Give me the message. By this time, she had laid out everything before me. I said, I'll read it through. And if I see where God tells me that you are the one to do it, I will. On one of the piece of papers, she had, God says, the man who sits on the left in the black suit, in a bow tie, must give me $30,000. And then there were some other things, and I said, all right then. By this time, Sister Sharp was outside wondering, why this visit takes so long? And the only way I got that young lady out, I said to her, well, this message not gonna work. Because as a pastor, I don't know which man that in black in bow tie sit down in my church. And I can't ask them, let you come and ask them for $30,000 when the church needs more than that to do work. So bring the message back to God and tell him, say, you can't deliver it. She pushed away the chair, almost pushed it outside, and said, you will see, you will see, you will see. And spin her roll and walked out. She not come back yet to deliver the message. She'll probably come back when the new man come, whoever that is. And there have been a lot of that. I remember one Sabbath I was doing Sabbath school at Vilmore, and a lady just walked in. She came the Wednesday. I spoke with her. She didn't believe I was the pastor. I said, well, I'll be here on Sabbath. And if I'm not going to be, I shouldn't be here, I will be here for the entire day. And she was adamant. She says, if I need to disturb church, I will disturb the church to give my message that God has given me. So the Sabbath morning, I lined up the police. And I asked them to come in their uniform. Those who worked were policemen in the church. And she came to church and she saw the police in the uniform. And she stood at the door. And as she opened, I said, no, if you open it, straight to prison this morning. And everybody in church was packed. We're like, so this sister has a message from God for us. But you see right now, I am God's messenger here. And God not tell me yet that she was given a message. The wheel she wheel, She turned out on Fordyce Drive in the path of a car. The car bounced her. And the text she took on that man, all the people in the church had to say, then as she get message through you? There's a price in being a true prophet. We can't deny the fact that true prophets must live by God's words. And there are people who will be denied the possibility of sharing a message. And when they don't, sometimes the message sounds sincere, you know. But you have to test the spirits. Because when they don't get the opportunity to share, then everybody in the church will go to hell. There's some commonalities with true prophets. Made reference to some of them on Sabbath. For example, Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 6, when Jeremiah was called, he resisted to accepting the call. He says, listen to me, I cannot speak for I am a what? Sorry, it's a little bit small. I am a child. Isaiah says, woe is me, I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips. But Isaiah before this was still the servant of God. But when God called him to the prophetic ministry, he said, no, I'm a man of unclean lips. And I dwell in the midst of people with unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongues from the altar. And it was placed on his lips. Exodus 4, 10 through 14. Moses said unto the Lord, I am not eloquent enough, neither therefore nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. And God did what he had to do. Gideon, God wants his people to be delivered. And Gideon asked God, listen to me, make the fleece dry. Put it out on the barbecue. Let it dry. That time dew was heavy. And when Gideon woke up in the morning and saw it dry, he said, no, I'm not done yet, God. Tomorrow morning, make it wet. Am I right? He tested God. Judges chapter 6. There are some commonalities. They resisted accepting the call, but God used them anyway. When we examine the experience of the biblical prophets, we see that things turned out always God's way. The main reason is that typically a prophet is usually unwelcomed, and they didn't like the job of prophets. Jeremiah 20 verse 2 and 2 Kings speaks to that. Then Pashur smote Jeremiah the prophet and put him in stocks that were in the high gate of Benjamin, which was by the house of the Lord. When he gave his message, he was put in bonds and stocks. 1 Kings 18, Elijah on Mount Carmel was rejected by those around him, but then God vindicated him. These experiences have taught us to test the spirits, especially when the alleged prophets insist they be acknowledged as messengers of God. No prophet in the Bible, not even God himself, insisted to be acknowledged as a messenger of God. Matthew 11 verse 11. Truly, I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there has not risen a greater than John the Baptist. That time. But then the greatest of all prophets ended up with his head on a silver platter. Matthew 11:11, Matthew 14:1 through 12 tells us that. We're living in the last days when many false Christs and prophets shall come. We must be students of the Word of God so that we will be able to decipher the false from the true. Bank tellers don't study counterfeit notes. They study the real thing. We can't take a part that anyone says and say that they are true prophets. The word must come true. By their fruits you shall know them. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not, it's because there is no light in them. Their followers must testify of their work. Their life and their word must be in tandem. Test the spirits. Because when we do, we'll be on the right path to make it, to be, and to live among those who have prophesied of God and are now waiting to usher us in and waiting for his second return. Why? Because there's a prophet who is still alive. He was taken up and knew not. He is alive. And there are many others who died and are waiting. Let us know the tests of the prophets, so that as the elect, we are not deceived by those who come with fables and fancy stories, saying he's in the east or he's in the marketplace, let's go and meet him. When Christ, the true prophet, says, all eyes shall behold me when I come. Let us test the Spirit.